Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eddie Reyes. I'm the Director of 911 in Prince William County, Virginia, part of the National Capital Region. It's my distinct honor and pleasure to serve as a moderator for this very impactful session titled Critical Data Integration Between PSAPs and Traffic Management Centers. Today's workshop and session is sponsored by WSP with kind support from NRITS, Gannett Fleming, Siemens, Transsoft Solutions, and Kimley Horn. So thank you all to our sponsors who make this entire conference and all of these sessions possible, because obviously without our kind support from our sponsors, we could not have these conferences. So thank you to our sponsors. Thank you for joining today's session. I know that we're the only thing between you and dinner for the most part, and we hope that you'll agree that at the end of the session, it'll be worth your while to understand the critical work that's going on in the background in the integration of data between PSAPs and traffic management centers. Here in the National Capital Region, and like throughout the rest of the country, we're doing a lot of good work, and we wanted to share what's going on in the background behind the curtains, if you will, to keep traffic moving at a very effective pace. Today's session, we're going to have three wonderful speakers. We're going to start off with Pat Noyes, followed by John McLennan, and then followed up by Athena Hutchins. At the end of our presentation, there will be a question and answer session, as well as please feel free to submit some questions on the chat box or in the question box. We'll be monitoring that throughout the session, and obviously we'll try to get to all of your questions. So Pat, let's go and start off. If you could please give us a brief introduction. I know you're going to talk to us about the overview that you've been doing with the TSAG. And before we do that, let me just read one other slide. If you could put the slide back up, please, because it disappeared on my end. There we go. And that is regarding credits and recording information. So there will be 1.5, 1.5 PDH and CM credits that are going to be provided for attending this session. In order to successfully earn these credits, you must participate in the full session and complete the evaluation form at the completion of the session. The process for receiving the PDH credit is shared at the conclusion of the session after the Q&A. And also the recording of this session will be available in the ITE Learning Hub within 48 hours for the meeting registrants. So just wanted to give that disclosure on the credits and the recording info. So now, Pat, getting back to you, ma'am. I know you and I have been working for several years with TSAG and the report that you helped to shepherd through on this very topic that we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Can you kind of kick us off, Pat, and tell us the work that you've done, and then that'll lead into the work that John and Athena contributed to your final report. Pat, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. This is actually a reprieve of, or a repeat of the webinar we did for the Transportation Safety Advancement Group, a short version of the repeat of that. And so the three of us, Athena and John and I, have done this before, as a summary of what the Transportation Safety Advancement Group did in terms of looking at integration between TMCs and PSAPs. So we really wanted to bring that here and share that with you today. And so I'll give a brief overview of the work that was done by TSAG, and then John and Athena will talk about their specific experiences for their agencies. So with that, I think we'll just go straight into the presentation. Thank you. Good day, this is Pat Noyes with Pat Noyes and Associates. I'm going to be talking about integrating traffic management centers or transportation management centers with public safety answering points. This is based on a project that was done by the Transportation Safety Advancement Group, or TSAG, to look at the opportunities and challenges of integrating TMCs and PSAPs. So what is TSAG to start with? TSAG is a group of transportation and public safety professionals. We'll go through in just a minute the communities of interest that it represents. And they're working with USDOT under the sponsorship of USDOT to address safety needs through proven and emerging technologies. TSAG represents 9 communities of interest focused on various aspects of enhancing public and responder safety on transportation facilities. So TSAG supports research and education and technology to improve responder safety and is really focused on looking at emerging technologies and how they can be used to enhance situational awareness and the safety of responders on scene. The communities of interest included in TSAG are shown here and really represent a full range of interested parties that have an interest in incidents that occur on highways and arterial systems. It's worth noting that TSAG, who has been sponsored by USDOT for a number of years, will be disbanded as a formal group at the end of July, but the mission of the group will remain a priority for USDOT involvement and engagement. So TMC PSAP, the project itself, looked at various types of integration, not just data integration as you would imagine, but also looked at voice and co-location opportunities for integration between public safety answering points, or PSAPs, and traffic management centers. Part of the project was to conduct interviews with 5 agencies on their experience with integrating TMCs and PSAPs. And those interviews are part of the summary findings and recommendations that were published in a white paper and presented in a webinar sponsored by USDOT and TSAG. So you'll see here a couple of the agencies that were our interview agencies, Minnesota DOT and the Niagara International Transportation Technology Coalition, or NYTEC. And these 2 will be also presenting in this session today, so you'll get a lot more information specifically on the findings from those two agencies. So let's look at the integration opportunities that exist. As I mentioned, there are 3 sort of different ways of looking at this. A physical integration, which is the co-location of DOT and public safety personnel. Voice integration, which looks at radio and telephone integration. And data system event record sharing between the TMC, which is often an ATMS or advanced traffic management system, and the computer-aided dispatch, or CAD system, that you find in the PSAP. So the co-location really provides opportunities to increase communication and build cooperation and coordination between transportation and public safety agencies. It may include locating the TMC and PSAP in the same building, or more closely on the same floor, or even in a shared operations room. The more closely the agency personnel are located, the greater the flow of information and relationship building. In terms of voice integration, it's really looking at integration between centers that can be done using radio or telephone integration. Some agencies have established shared radio frequencies or cellular communications for incident information exchange, and to share information on incidents across agencies. In terms of data integration between TMCs and PSAPs can provide faster notification of accidents or incidents automatically from the CAD system in the public safety answering point to the ATMS or TMC. This integration can occur at several levels. This can be anything from automated incident alerts to event record sharing to event data integration. So we're going to talk more specifically about the data integration piece because that's one that really is I think, on the cutting edge of where we want to go with integration between TMCs and PSAPs. So there are various levels of integration in terms of data sharing. These can range from automating incident alerts from the PSAP CAD system to the TMC, which reduces time and workload associated with activating traveler information and notifications on dynamic message signs and 511 services. Providing a one-way data feed from a CAD system or a TMC to a TMC or ATMS provides more information than just the alerts. The ability to view event record data in the TMC can improve situational awareness for TMC operators and allow them to pass that information to units in the field, such as service patrols or maintenance units. In terms of merging event records, the notification and one-way data feed discussed previously reduces the time and workload associated with notifying the TMC of a roadway incident. This generally occurs through event records that are fed from the CAD system to the ATMS. Sometimes the TMC has cameras, detection devices, and dispatchers talking to field units that'll have generated, and they'll generate their own event record as an incident is detected. So the ability to merge CAD and ATMS event records can reduce work effort associated with entering data and the duplication of records for a single event that may occur in the ATMS. Looking at this level of full integration, which is the optimal kind of integration in terms of sharing data, full two-way integration enables PSAPs and TMC personnel to automatically access event data generated by operators in each center. This includes real-time data sharing between PSAP CAD systems and an ATMS or TMC system. The automatic flow of event data between systems includes data and updates to event information and the ability of PSAP call takers and TMC operators to initiate event records in their systems. It would also provide the opportunity to merge events as needed to simplify event tracking. A fully integrated system would provide a single source for event data and allow public safety and transportation agencies to access the data for operational and planning analysis. Such integration would maximize information sharing and coordination between TSAPs and TMCs. It's also the most complex form of integration, so there are certainly a number of challenges that would be faced in terms of doing that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. So looking specifically at the potential benefits associated with fully integrated data sharing between TMCs and PSAPs, TMC and PSAP integration at any of the levels provides enormous benefits to both DOT and public safety agencies. But some of the following list, or the list on this slide, talks about some of the specific benefits associated with integrating systems and centers. The most common of the experienced benefit is the faster notification of incidents. So for TMCs with limited instrumentation, which would include cameras, event notification from state or other detection devices, event notification from state or local PSAPs provides quick, reliable notification of incidents on the highway systems. These can be automated, as we mentioned, through CAD to ATMS feeds, or can be more informal in terms of co-location or communication integration in terms of voice or in-person notification. Notification from TMC operators to PSAPs can also inform public safety agencies of incidents detected through DOT instrumentation or detection devices in the field in a similar manner. Through event record sharing and alerts, voice communication, or in person. So there are a variety of ways we can start to provide quicker notification of incidents. Faster notification and more reliable incident information based on incident responder updates can improve incident response and quicker clearance, improving safety for responders and the traveling public. Quick clearance reduces incident-related congestion and backups, and it also improves safety by reducing the potential for secondary crashes. Each level of integration and improved communication improves efficiency. So automated notifications between centers can save staff time, workload associated with additional phone calls, emails, or other notification of the system, of the incident. Systems that import records between the CAD and the ATMS or allow records to be merged can also reduce workload and improve record accuracy through automated data and input sharing. Integration of information between TMCs and PSAPs can enhance situational awareness for all agencies involved. TMCs can provide information from their cameras, detectors, and field units through event records shared from their systems to the PSAPs. Public safety responders provide incident information and updates to their PSAPs, which then update their event records and are shared with TMC, and including geographic information or GIS mapping. Co-location allows interagency communication and communication at centers and supports the DOT field units and public safety responders, which provides additional incident information. Timely and reliable information can support better resource allocation through quicker notification to all agencies and more specific information about the type of incident, location of the incident, extent of impact to the system, and special resource needs. With the availability of critical incident information, the DOT can support public safety responders with service patrol vehicles and personnel, maintenance resources, traffic control, and diversion techniques. This can reduce the exposure of first responders on scene, reduce impacts to the traveling public, effectively allocate resources, and improve patient outcomes. By sharing incident information across agencies as it becomes available, communications and coordination between the DOT and public safety agencies is enhanced. Timely data and updates from incident responders can be shared from the PSAP to the TMC through event record updates and face-to-face communication in the case of a co-located center. This also supports enhanced relationships across agencies with different missions and culture, creating a more collaborative environment for managing incidents. And finally, sharing incident data in real time from CAD to an ATMS allows TMCs to track, analyze, and evaluate the impacts of incidents and incident response on the transportation system. The TMC uses ATMS software to manage and operate transportation systems, and CAD data can provide a real-time source for incident data and analysis, improve data to populate traveler information systems, and also to support system planning and investment decisions. The data can be used to identify locations and conditions that would benefit from safety projects or ITS deployment. It can help determine trends in incidents and effectiveness of incident response and operational strategies, and it can support real-time decision-making to enhance safety and reliability. So overall decision-making from real-time to long-range planning can be improved through this data sharing. So some of the challenges that we need to look at when we're looking at implementing TMC and PSAP integration, they exist in working across agencies and systems, and the challenges become more complex as the level of integration is increased. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that are faced in trying to integrate across these different agencies and across these different systems. So in terms of system integration, statewide or regional integration between TMCs and PSAPs often includes multiple agencies with multiple centers, TMCs and PSAPs. Particularly with PSAPs, there are state patrol or state police PSAPs, there are county and city local public safety communication centers, fire, EMS, and law enforcement. And for transportation agencies, there may be both state or multiple state and local TMCs. So full integration between transportation and public safety operations and communications requires integration of multiple agencies, multiple centers, and multiple systems. Data integration is challenged by the use of different systems, and some of these are commercial and proprietary, and collecting and storing different data fields for different needs and applications. So bringing the data together usually requires changes to the system and data configuration to align fields and filter data to limit sensitive information such as criminal justice information data fields. The purpose of system integration is to simplify and streamline the flow of information through the automation of data sharing. So if this is not done effectively, a TMC operator may experience additional information as a challenge, and monitoring activity associated with it to be in addition to monitoring system cameras, detectors, ITS devices, radio communications with Service Patrol and other field units, and phone calls from staff, other agencies, and DOT customers. So PSAP generated alerts and data sent to the operators at the TMC should be designed to enhance situational awareness and simplify rather than complicate operator actions. Anytime data is shared across systems, there are concerns with data security. This is particularly important when source data in the CAD system includes sensitive data about individual drivers or criminal justice data. Integration of TMC and PSAP systems must address data and system security issues in a way that ensures sensitive information such as criminal activity and personally identifiable information is stripped from the record prior to the TMC having access to it, or if it needs to be hidden behind a firewall. The agencies that have been most successful in integrating TMCs and PSAPs have been those that have shared an appreciation for the opportunities provided through the enhanced coordination and communication of integration. Much of the resistance comes from a lack of understanding of the benefits offered in integrating the two and and of shared objectives between the agencies. So each agency has its mission and culture, and that creates different perspectives and objectives in their management of incidents and incident information. Data requirements and data sensitivity, as well as purpose and need of data collection, vary across agencies. And finally, resource costs associated with TMC PSAP integration are often a challenge to implementation. It's common to have expenses associated with system add-ons or changes to accommodate the sharing of data from a CAD system to an ATMS or vice versa. There are costs associated with data hubs used for extraction, analysis, and sharing of data between systems and communication for upgrades of data sharing. Co-location may require new or reconfigured facilities to accommodate all participating agencies. And the cost of these investments may fall upon one agency or shared across multiple involved participating agencies. Staffing to support integration is another important resource to consider. New applications and data integration often require additional staff capabilities for one or more agencies. These needs for additional resources or capabilities can limit the effectiveness of integration or create additional costs and resistance. So finally, just in summary of the findings from this report, TSPAG provided several recommendations. In terms of supporting the advancement and implementation of integration, TSPAG recommends that US DOT develop a pilot program to support agencies that are interested in integration. It would include technical, institutional, and funding support to allow agencies currently integrating systems to expand their efforts, and to allow agencies that have not yet initiated TMC PSAP integration to explore opportunities to do so. Additional research on the benefits of TMC PSAP integration would support the development of a business case for integration and identifying the opportunities involved in integration, and would address the common challenges faced by agencies interested in center-to-center integration. Opportunities to expand the use of incident data to support initiatives such as an AACN or advanced automatic collision notification pilots, connected vehicle data integration and connected responder applications should also be explored to maximize the return on investment in the integration and sharing of data across agencies. So with that, I just wanted to make sure that everyone had access to the white paper and webinar that was presented for this. It's available on the www.tsag-its.org site. This will remain in place for a while after TSAG has been disbanded formally, and hopefully that material will continue to be available on the site. But you can access the full white paper at the TSAG site at this time. So with that, I'll wrap up, and you'll also get to hear more detail on both the Minnesota DOT experience and the NYTEC experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Wow, that was very comprehensive. I just want to make sure, I'm trying to get a mic check. Am I coming across loud and clear?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pat. I mean, obviously, you know, those of us that have been on the Transportation Safety Advancement Group working on this project with you have been seeing this fabulous work. I'm so grateful to John and Athena for participating. I know that I participated by having the Northern Virginia, Fairfax County PSAP and our traffic TMC participate in that as well. This report, for those of you that have not seen it, I cannot promote it strong enough. This is an awesome white paper, especially for those of you trying to achieve this accomplishment. As Pat was very articulate, it's a very complex process. There's a lot of things to be learned from that. And I think there's no one better that can give us an explanation on how Minnesota did that from their end than John. So John, go ahead and go with your presentation, sir, and then we'll transition over to Athena next.
Yeah, hi, this is John McClellan, MnDOT Freeway Operations Supervisor at the Minnesota DOT Regional Transportation Management Center. Talking about our integration with State Patrol's CAD system, their computer-aided dispatch software. So this is the Regional Transportation Management Center, the RTMC. It's in Roseville, just north of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's the joint dispatch for State Patrol, which is a separate state agency, their Department of Public Safety, and then MnDOT's Metro maintenance dispatch. So that's maintenance just for the Metro Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and then us in freeway operations, the TMC. Big building, big part of the building is the dispatch floor. We've been in here coming on almost 20 years, and everybody here is a state employee. There's no contracted workers. It's all state. So there's a picture, a few years old picture, obviously pre-COVID. But at the far end of the room is State Patrol dispatch, and that's State Patrol's metro area, and then everything north of the metro. So it's about 2/3 of the state for State Patrol 911 and troopers and Fire Marshal's office and DNR. The middle of the room is maintenance dispatch, and again, that's just for the metro area, the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Both of those groups 24/7, and then the freeway ops, the TMC, is in the foreground. And we are not quite 24/7. We are 7 days a week, but not 24/7. There's kind of the overview of the Metro TMC system. I mean, pretty much the entire freeway system is covered except for one about 5-mile section up in the Northwest Metro. About 900 to 1,000 cameras in the Metro, 200+ message boards, loops every half mile, or in some cases Wavetronic, and we're very heavy on ramp metering, so about 450 meters total, and all of those are traffic adaptive. And we also operate the HOV and HOT system, the HOV/HOT lanes. The software that this is a screen grab from is called Iris, and that is developed in-house. We have our own programmer and all of this is written in-house. It is open source, so it's available for anybody out there. If you want to download it and install it yourself, we don't provide support and we don't provide installation, but it is out there. I think there are a few consultants too that have that are using this and you can basically hire on to do the installation if you like. There's our service patrol. So pretty typical. I think the Federal Highways calls it, I think, the level 2 service patrol. So it's not 24/7. It's not towing, but it's 3/4 ton pickup trucks, message boards. They cannot run code. They are not emergency vehicles. They don't have red lights and sirens, but they are our emergency traffic control as well as the motorist assistance part of it. So recognizing at first that there's a lot of different models for TMCs that are out there, and this is really orientated, what I'm talking about is orientated towards the TMCs that are on more of the incident response side. So knowing that some TMCs that really just concentrate on signals and concentrate on time of day signaling, signal timing, stuff like that, it doesn't apply to everybody, but for the TMCs that are kind of within this range of this is what I'm talking about. Just recognizing it doesn't apply to everybody. But for many TMCs, especially us, we and other ones with similar resources, we spend a lot of money on cameras and traffic sensors to give us a wide view of what's going on and to help us detect when incidents happen. We also spend huge amounts of money on message boards, so 250,000 a pop, and apps and phone systems to help communicate out to the public when something happens. And in our case, we manage our service patrol too. The TMC runs the service patrol, who are our incident responders. So the problems with all of that is that an operator can only look at so many cameras at one time, and that's pretty well documented on the casinos and security side of it. Some of it is just the amount of just how many screens can you fit in a viewing area, just a finite amount of that, and the attention level that operators are going to be able to concentrate and monitor that. And then if trying to use traffic detection for incident detection, a lot of incidents don't create congestion, especially some of the high priority emergent ones, like a stalled vehicle in the center lane of free flow traffic. That's not going to generate any congestion until it gets hit. And then all the lanes are blocked, and then the emergency responders arrive, and then you start to see some congestion. And depending on the time of night or the time of day, that may even take 5-10 minutes before that even shows up on the map, on a traffic map, or as a congestion thing. And then the service patrol, our service patrol responders for incidents, they can only respond to things that they can only respond to the incidents that we know about. Or unless they're just out randomly driving around and come across something. So those are the challenges on the TMC side. And really, the example of the stalled vehicle in the center lane, the goal is to try to get to that before it gets hit. If you can get to that incident while it's still in the center lane and get message boards up to warn people, get the service patrol going to push it out of the lane, or provide traffic control before it generates congestion. Once it's been hit, once it's generated the congestion, well, then it's pretty much, it's, the game is already almost over at that point. So on the 911 side, on the public safety side, in public safety answering points, that's what PSAP is. On the dispatch side, the challenge is location and description. The problem is that there's no street addresses on the freeway. If you call 911 from inside your house and say, hey, there's a problem at 123 Main Street, you've given an address, you've given an exact location that's within 20 feet. If you're in an apartment building, it gets a little bit more complicated, but you've still given a solid address. If you see something happen in front of your house or while you're outside, corner of Washington and Main, there's a crash. Again, you provided a location that's accurate to within 30, 40, 50, 100 feet. On the freeways, you don't have that. You have people oftentimes going off of landmarks. A lot of times they're looking at exit signs and they'll say, yeah, I'm by Cretin Avenue. Well, no, you're looking at the exit sign for Cretin Avenue and you're actually a half mile, 3/4 of a mile away from Cretin. So you're starting off some distance away. Phase 2 911, which is the GPS on the cell phones, which carries over into the 911 calls. That has helped, but it is not universal. It is not every 911 call. It is not every tower. It is not every carrier. There are the amount of accuracy, the distance, whether it's feet or hundreds of feet or a quarter mile. All of those things can be different from call to call, from tower to tower. And if it's a witness, it's a passerby who's going the opposite direction at 70 miles an hour, and they call 911, then that location is also going to be off by, a half mile to a mile, if they keep on driving by. And then the other element of this is trying to describe something and assess the severity. I mean, you see a crash happen in front of your house, you see it on an intersection in front of you, you can walk out, you can ask, hey, is there anybody hurt? You can't do that on the freeway if you're a witness, or even if you're involved and that you're on the right and that car's on the left and you've got 4 or 5 lanes in between you, or you're a witness driving by. How bad is it? Is this a serious crash where there's people ejected? Is it on fire, or is this an overheat and it's actually just a stalled vehicle and it's kind of a crummy car? So all of those things then carry into what's the priority to get the people and who are the right responders to get there and getting them to the right location, which then comes into the next part of this, which is the fundamental challenge for the emergency responders is getting the right responders, whether it's police, whether it's fire, whether it's EMS, getting them, especially when it's a true emergency, and trying to prioritize whether it really is an emergency or not based off of this limited information for freeway incidents. And then if you've gone through the Sharp 2 TIM training, or any other sort of responder training, the foundation of responder safety is proper parking. And that means parking your emergency vehicle upstream to use it to block and shield and direct traffic around you. So you have to know exactly where the incident is so that you're not coming down the ramp and saying, oh, there it is behind me. Now I'm going to have to drive a mile, 2 miles to the next ramp, come back around, or park in front of it, which isn't safe for you as a responder for the rest of the public. The other part of this too, and this is just things that we see all day long, is you get a crash and it's reported as being on freeway number 1, and it may only be a difference of 100 feet, but that 100 feet is 3 freeways over, because you're in a commons area, and maybe it's 3 freeways and it's 2 6-foot-high J barriers, and maybe it's on a flyover ramp that's 10 feet up in the air. We've seen that happen too, where things get reported as. So there is a need for extremely accurate and precise locations for freeway response, and also just the access, the limited access. It's not the same as being on a city street where you can come at it from different directions. You have to be able to get it from the right spot and the right entrance and the right ramp and get to the right spot. So there's this extreme difficulty in getting the precise locations, and then extreme need to have these precise locations. So that's where the solution comes into, of trying to plug the TMC, which has the cameras and the knowledge and the skill set for the cameras, with the 911 side of it, who is taking the first call, who's getting these emergency calls, and then dispatching the responders. In our case, 911, they get the call, we hear it on the scanner, we see it in CAD, we verify the location, and then we can then work with our state patrol dispatchers to make sure that the exact right information is being relayed then to those responders. The exact location, whether it's in the left lane, whether it's in the right lane, is it actually on this freeway and not on the other freeway? And even is the severity correct or not? And we can then put up a message board. And that's the other part of this too on the TMC side, is we can put up that overhead message board that says stalled vehicle ahead in center lane. and that is 5-10 minutes before any responders have even arrived on scene. We can act as a responder ourselves remotely by trying to warn the public, hey, this is what's going on out there, and watch out, and try to do something to reduce the potential of something happening. So what's unique for us in Minnesota, there are a lot of different ways of getting, there's a lot of different ways out there for DOTs to get CAD data. We are actually using State Patrol's CAD system. So we create events using State Patrol's CAD, and we also can see events that State Patrol has created themselves within a list of predefined list of traffic related. We're not seeing criminal things, but we're seeing traffic impacting events that State Patrol creates. We can log our benchmarks using this as well, and this is how we do our lanes clear and our roadway clear time by logging that in CAD. The arrival times are coming automatically out of CAD because our Service Patrol is in it and State Patrol is in it. And we can generate those, we can get those arrival and the clearance times automatically out of that. The Service Patrol logs what work that they've done, gas, jump, fuel, tire change. The Service Patrol uses the CAD system the same way that State Patrol is. So it's all using the same CAD system. There is, and this is always the big one that comes up, is the CGI, the protected CGI data is firewalled off, so we do not see that. And other things that come in, our Service Patrol can do custody towing, so so CAD is critical for that, and then coordinating response with patrol. So seeing where the units are at, messaging, being able to message them directly, seeing which trooper is on scene so we can message and ask them a question. And then this is just how front and center it is. This is one of the TMC dispatchers. The two screens directly in front of him are CAD. The screen on his left is the ATMS software, and then he's got two camera screens on his right, and then a radio console. And this is a dispatcher, and then sitting in front of him is another desk, which is basically set up in the opposite, where the ATMS software is directly in front of the operator, and CAD is off to the left. But it's basically flip-flop, so it's the same software and the same equipment at each workstation. Benefits, it's, for the public, it's, you would think, I think if you're a member of the public and you know how much this stuff costs, or if you knew how much this stuff costs, this just makes sense. It's the maximum benefit of this infrastructure to convey information accurately and efficiently and quickly. If you're doing managed lanes, this is especially important because it is so apparent in managed lanes whether or not the lane is open, whether the lane is closed, whether there's an incident there or not. You really need to be quick and efficient. And this is one of the quickest and most efficient ways to get it, is right off of 911. And then on the responder side, it's scene safety starts with good location information. I mean, that's number one, and I think that's your hook on the public safety side if you're making this pitch. It is for their safety. And there's the ability not only to upgrade, but also downgrade response based off of what you see on camera and putting these things together. The challenge is this was years of hard work. Maintaining the relationship, keeping that going, and budgets and politics. And honestly, if we got outsourced, if the politics changed here and we became outsourced and became contract workers, or I don't know if this would still be possible or not. I have a feeling it probably wouldn't be. So I think this is somewhat unique since we're all state employees. But and not saying that this was in any way easy either. And then in the future, a lot of challenges in the future. Other PSAPs that take the freeway 911 calls, and then how that data gets shared back to State Patrol. A lot of information gets lost. A lot of the local police agencies are now encrypting their main channels, so it's difficult to monitor them. Say impossible. There's a segment of calls that go to Waze instead of to 911, and that's something we've been able to observe by comparing Waze and comparing the CAD data, which type of event is going to where. And then connected vehicles. I think connected vehicles are going to be the big one for all of us. That there's going to be potential for a tremendous amount of data to be coming in, but it's going to be data with no context. It's going to be a bunch of hard braking events. It's like, okay, that's nice, but do I need to send anybody to that heartbreaking event. What does that mean? Did it go away? Did it stop? Is the problem still there? What is the problem? We're still going to need as many other sources of data as possible, and that's where 911 call comes in, because they are talking to people, and as variable as that source of data is on the 911 side, it's still probably in a lot of cases going to be better or more complete than just what we're getting strictly from the sensor level of it, or at least it's going to be a big part of it. So thank you. That wraps it up for me. And please put any questions you have in the questions pod, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for that, John. And, you know, working here with the Virginia Department of Transportation and, you know, getting all their traffic camera feeds here, I can tell you that just as a common practice and protocol here in Prince William County, Virginia, we have two major interstates running through our county, I-95, which everybody knows and hates along the eastern seaboard, and of course I-66, which is a major east to west corridor, and lots of cameras on both of those roads. Whenever we have an incident on an interstate that's been reported, because motorists, especially those that are from out of town, we typically dispatch fire and rescue resources in both directions just out of an abundance of caution, because we know, to your point, people often don't know where they're at, especially if they're not from this area. They get the mile markers wrong, so we always dispatch from both directions just to make sure we get there as quickly as possible. Okay, next we're going to go over to Athena from NYTEC, and she's going to give us an update and an overview on what they're doing up in the Niagara region. So Athena, can you hear me?
So my name is Athena Hutchins. I'm going to talk a little bit about NYTEC and some of the integration we have done in our region to date, and some of the future plans we have coming forward. So to give a little background, NYTEC was established in 1995 through a federal mobility grant. We are a collaboration of agencies within the region, and I'll explain in a minute what our region encompasses. We get involved in technology deployment, operations, incident management, and then traveler and traffic information. So we're a multi-agency transportation operations coalition. We have 42 member agencies that are a part of our coalition. They're broken down into 3 categories. 5 are policy members. That really comprises of the board of directors of NYTEC. We also have 9 general members and 28 affiliate members. And the affiliate members grows on a regular basis. We're constantly looking at there are other partners that we should be a part of the coalition. And really the membership makes up the transportation agencies in our region. So that's the New York State Department of Transportation, the New York State Thruway Authority, our Erie County, our Niagara Frontier Transportation Authority, that's a transit agency here in the region, and then also the Ministry of Transportation on Ontario, because we are a binational coalition between U.S. and Canada. We also have public safety and border enforcement, so U.S. Customs, Canadian Customs are a part of us, and then also a big part of what we are involved in, it really encompasses the emergency services and recovery, the tow operators, and so forth. The mission of NYTEC is really to improve mobility, reliability, and safety on the regional binational multimodal transportation network through information sharing and coordinated management of operations. And I think a big part of that and a key piece of that is the management of operations, that coordination that we do and get involved in within the region. So our region really encompasses the western New York region, Buffalo, and then not quite till Rochester, down to the Pennsylvania state line, New York, and then into southern Ontario, which really encompasses just the part to about St. Catharines. We don't go all the way to Toronto, as you can see on the map, but we really, that border crossing traffic that crosses through that region that might go to Toronto, we're involved in that aspect. So some of the functions that we get involved in, so like I said, multi-agency multi-agency collaboration is a big piece of it. So traveler information, border traffic management, because we have 4 border crossing here in the region, emergency management, incident management, construction coordination, traffic and congestion management, weather system and monitoring. We do have some large snow events that tend to happen in our region, special event planning and management, so any kind of special events that might happen, whether it's involvement in the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, or any kind of large event that might go on in our region. Transportation system monitoring, so we're always monitoring what's going on in on the network, and then performance measures reporting. So we collect a lot of data, and then we are able to report back out on that for our agencies. So we run a centralized operations center 24/7, and like I said, we're binational, so our region encompasses both U.S. and Canada that we're monitoring. We've got about 150 cameras throughout the region. We have about 30 overhead message signs. So we're operating all of this equipment on behalf of the agencies within this region. The Ministry of Transportation Ontario does operate their message signs and their cameras in the region, but we have access to that information and to see what's going on the cameras. So we're considered the information clearinghouse for the region. So anything going out on the roadway or happening, whether it's construction or an incident, we're involved in it some way. So a lot of times the information is coming into us and then we're disseminating that out, whether it's disseminating out to the media, the traveling public, or within agencies themselves. There may be, information that might be needed between different agencies that we help try to coordinate some of that. We help standardize the operations. A lot of times, something might be happening on one agency's roadway or another, and we just try to standardize so it's seamless so people really don't notice the difference. Like I said, multi-agency event planning, so any kind of large event that might be going on in our region, we are involved in helping coordinate among agencies and help facilitate that information sharing. So we do have multi-agency intelligent transportation systems that are deployed in the region. So we're monitoring, like I said, over 150 cameras, and that's from multiple agencies throughout the region. And same with the message signs that are out there. We're putting those messages up on different agencies' signs, and there's a standardized messaging set. So it's the same type of messaging, doesn't matter whose signs we are putting those up on. And then any kind of traffic management plans throughout the region we're involved in helping share that information. Like I said, traveler information is something we're involved in, and whether we're sharing that with the agencies or the traveling public or the media. So we have a website and a mobile app to share this information. To get that out so you can check on cameras, you can see what messaging, check on some border delay information. Like I said, there's 4 border crossings within our region between U.S. and Canada that are being monitored. The 3 main ones, we'll put information on what kind of delays that might be going across that border. And then really, when it comes to incident management and collaboration, there's a lot that happens throughout the region. We have committees that meet on a regular basis. They meet every other month or quarterly. So there's one in Western New York, and then there's also one in Ontario. We have different partners and agencies that are involved, but we meet on a regular basis. We go through, various types of efforts that they're working on. We do incident debriefing, try to learn, from each other, some best practices, and then, response protocols and agreements, just making sure everyone's working together. It's a seamless operation and kind of standardize on some of that information. There's a lot of education and training that goes on, and NYTEC's involved it with and tries to facilitate different training between first responders. Really a big piece of what we are involved in is that relationship building, just trying to make those connections between the agencies when there is an incident, and then they can put a name to a face because they've already met. There's a lot of coordination that happens, and we truly try to help build those relationships between the agencies and within NYTEC just to make sure we're sharing that information. And then we really are trying to promote the National Unified Goal for Incident Management and making sure everybody's operating on the same playing field. So when it comes to incident management and collaboration, really that single point of contact helps streamline information. It helps whether it's the transportation agencies, public safety or emergency services, roadside assistance, really kind of work together. And you know, a lot of times weather might have an impact, so we're trying to help with that and try to facilitate any kind of coordination that might need to be happen. So we have a major incident support system, really just trying to make sure everyone's on the same page. Now, when it came time for data sharing, there's been efforts that have occurred over the past few years to share that information, not just through phone calls, but really that real-time data sharing through direct network connectivity, whether it's with into our advanced traffic management systems from different CAD systems, but pulling that together, like I said, whether it's transportation agencies or public safety agencies, really trying to share information and sharing it with everybody involved. So back in 2006, we really worked on developing a concept of operations regarding system integration and data distribution. So NYTEC acts as the hub for transportation information within this region. We are the ones that collect the information, we'll share it, we'll do some performance measures relating on that information. So a lot of the data comes in hand, whether it's verbal via a phone call or a radio, whether it's visual through the cameras, or if it's any of our types of systems that we might have, you know, automated through our advanced traffic management system, our ATMS. There's various detectors, there's CAD integration. So you can see on the diagram, we have a center-to-center system that was developed that came out of the concept of operations from 2006 was, let's build a center-to-center system where we can integrate various agency systems, bring them in, so we're collecting that information seamless and not just through a phone call or through visual, but actually integrating it in. So it uses an XML format. We have the ability to pull that in. Then we can take that and, you know, share it via email or through other different systems. We have that ability to share that information. So the system has been, like I said, it was built in 2006. NYTEC has maintained it. We are looking to enhance that system, kind of redesign it. Here's a schematic of the system. Crossroads is the name of our advanced traffic management system. That's something we gave it years ago. We've had that system at NYTEC since 2003. We've undergone some enhancements and changes to that system over the years, and we're actually undergoing kind of a larger enhancement right now to that system, which will allow us to bring in more agency systems and expand on that. So, but we have this system. It's we call it our I3B. That's our center-to-center system. That's where we've put in various servers and switches throughout the years to bring in different agencies. So you can see on here we've got the different town of their CAD systems bringing into our system. So it's the town of Cheektowaga, town of Amherst, town of Tonawanda. We get that information directly in. So that's anything transportation related type of events that go into the CAD system can make their way through. There's various filters that have been developed to make sure we're only getting transportation information. Here's just a look at our ATMS. So it's a map-based system that was developed that we can have this information come in. On the right hand is just a picture of, you know, this was just a specific event that came in on Interstate 190. That, you know, we would take action on it. So our operators in our operations center would get this alert that would pop up in the system that they can take a look at and see what's going on, and if they need to get further information on it or make a phone call to follow up. Or so the capture here shows an incident that came through. Our operators would take action on it. They might have to put up message signs. They might have to make follow-up phone calls. They would take this and then expand on it, and what other actions need to occur. They would take that action from here. So instead of getting a phone call in an incident, they would get an automatic alert that would pop up, and then they could follow up with additional phone calls or information if needed. And they might still get a phone call from it as well. A chatter system, this is something that was integrated with the Central Police Services over the years as well, where it's just a chatter, it's just like an instant messenger that they use out in the field, and we've got access to it so we can see. And again, it's one of those, it's just traffic related incidents, might need to get some further information, or hey, the road is still closed, or it's opening up soon. So it's just a way for dispatchers or even some of the police that are on scene can quickly put a message out there that comes back to us as well at NYTEC and can take action on it. So the chatter's been very helpful kind of when there's an incident occurring, and getting some of that really quick information instead of something, waiting on dispatch or somebody else to call. There's a way, or even just to send a message back quick, like, yep, we put messages up, or yep, we're aware of this incident. So just a quick thing that we're able to use has been very helpful, this chatter. Here's a look at some of the data we collect related to an incident. So like I said, at NYTEC, we collect a lot of this data information, collect a lot of the data with information related to an incident, the time, the location, when it was detected, when verified, when anyone arrived on scene. Especially if we can see all this on camera, we can gather all this information and collect it and then share it with others. We're tracking when the scene is cleared, when everyone's departed from the scene, and when traffic itself has returned back to normal. There might be congestion related to an incident. It might take some time to flush that out. So we're tracking that, we're monitoring that, and then we can share that information, whether it's with the media, the first responders need some of that, or even when we're doing debriefs, we can go back and take a look at the information, look at some best practices, and maybe there's something to learn. Why did it take so long to clear? Or why did it take so long for return to normal? There might be some feedback that we could provide, or even that the local police might provide back to us, or even some of the first responders might give back to us some of that information. And again, it's using some of that lessons learned, but we'll track all this information. We pull together an annual report with a lot of this information in it. It's available on the NYTEC website, which I'll give that at the end. You can see the address to our website, and you can go take a look at a lot of this data that we pulled together and do a lot of performance measures related to this data. And like one of the things we even keep track of is the center-to-center system that we do have in place. These are, you can see all the towns listed, or the agencies listed on the left there, on what information was either we received or was sent out on a regular basis. So this is the year 2018, 2019 data. We haven't updated with the 2020 data yet. It's in our annual report. I just haven't updated in the slides yet, but really taking a look at the information, how many incidents, how many messages are coming back and forth, and then just making sure that we're able to share that information and keep track and really see how effective this center-to-center system is. And like I said, we really want to expand on this. There's additional towns we want to integrate with. We've got some projects and initiatives that we're working on here at NYTEC in the upcoming year or so to really look at how can I integrate that data better, can we expand on that, and get better data coming in, because the more data you have, the better you can operate, the better you can share that data, and really just getting that information out to the agencies to make sure we can, clear these incidents, make it safer out on the roadways for the first responders, the transportation agencies that might be out there working in the field or assisting in some of these incidents. So the systems we have put in place have been very effective, and we just look to continue to expand on those in the upcoming years to really build on that. And as technology has changed and gotten easier to integrate, we have the ability to change the way we are integrating that data into our center. Here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me if you need anything further, want clarification on some of the information. Our website is listed there as well. It's nytec.org. If you go under the About Us, you can learn a little bit more about us, and then there's a section under the About Us reports and resources where you could see various reports that we do, but you can also see the annual reports that we pull together a lot of this information and make it available to the traveling public, that anyone who wants access to this information. And again, thank you for your time today, and really appreciate having this opportunity to talk about NYTEC and all the good things we're doing here in this region. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Athena. Wow, what an awesome presentation. As I sit here, I've been in the public safety first responder business for over 31 years. And, I've been the tip of the spear for many of those years. But even today, 31 years later, I look at these presentations, Pat's report and Whitepaper, John's report from Minnesota, or John's briefing on what MnDOT is doing, and then of course the presentation we just got from Athena, and I'm just left in awe with the awesome information that is being disseminated on a regular basis. But how in the world would we be able to manage these massive incidents without this awesome work going on behind the curtains? I mean, it just leaves me in awe. And like I said, I've been in the business for 31 years now. So let me go to some of the questions. One of the questions on there is there any effort to improve the timely access of this information to the media? Obviously, a very important partner of ours. I mean, here in the National Capital Region, with all the news talk radio shows on the radio and also the 24/7 television shows, they can be our best friends in helping us divert traffic from some of these major incidents. And what I've done here since I took over as the director of 911 in Prince William County is I stood up 3 social media outlets because 911 is typically the first to find out what is going on these major incidents. And so I stood up 3 social media outlets because while police and fire and rescue have their own social media specialists and also the traffic management centers, they're not as quick to put something out or as quick to find out about what's going on like 911. And so I have found out that, by posting that information on our social media outlets from 911, we usually get the jump start on everyone else putting something out. And the media has, of course, listed us as one of their favorite social media posts. And so now they're getting direct feeds from us here in 911. John or Athena or Pat, are you aware of any other efforts that are underway to get more timely information out to media outlets? Athena, you might be muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
Can you hear me now? There you go.
Yep.
So in our region, we work closely with our media outlets. If we have a large incident going on, and so some of the things we do is they're on our email threads. So if we have an incident we enter into our system, it goes out via email. The media is one that gets those alerts from us. We also push it on Facebook, Twitter, some of those social media outlets. And then we have direct contact with the media as well if there's a large incident. So we have, like I said, a good relationship. We don't have an automatic feed other than just an email thread that does get sent to them on incidents, or a phone call to let them know what's going on.
Yep. John, Pat, anything on that?
Yeah, so we go the other direction with almost the entirely automated part of it, which is the CAD data. The State Patrol CAD data also goes out to our 511, and it comes out automatically in 511. It's pretty limited. It's pretty basic. Not a great feed, but at least it says crash, blocking, stall, boink. We also 2 years ago we switched. We were able to go from snapshots to streaming video on pretty much all the traffic cameras. The TV stations for the last 20 years plus have each had access to one camera at a time, except in the rare occasions where we block a feed. But for the most part, they could all pick one camera and show it broadcast quality. We also have a talk group that our dispatchers will give a very quick announcement, say camera 623 is a crash blocking northbound W 38th Street blocking the right lane, camera 623. And we'll do that for all traffic impacting events, and that's intended for the traffic reporters or any nerd with a scanner who knows the talk group can put that in as well.
Yep. Pat, anything in closing on access to the media in a timely manner?
No, I would just add, though, that Athena talked a little bit about the partnerships and working together with the various partners involved in incident response. And that's a really good opportunity to start understanding what the media wants in terms of a feed, and also for the media to understand what they can and cannot necessarily have direct access to without it being filtered. So I think as you're putting together your systems that integrate and share information, parameters around what goes to the media, how they get the information, what format they want it in, what's the most effective, all those things are just something that gets put together as part of your system development and system definition.
Yep. I think in the final comment on this, Pat, to that point, is the more useful information you put out in a timely manner, the fewer phone calls you'll get at the centers from the media. Because I have found out that since we started putting out useful and timely information, because we know that the media outlets are monitoring the radio frequencies, and as soon as they hear the call go out, even before you get confirmation from the responding units that you have a confirmed incident, they're calling in here. So the more timely and the more accurate and useful information you put out there, that'll actually minimize your calls coming into the center from the media, because you're feeding them exactly what they're looking for, useful and timely information. So, yep, good point. Okay, the next question is regarding towing operations. What's the approach for the timing and the call out for towing operations from the PSAP and the TMC with the reporting and dispatch? The question is, are they called out from the incident scene? So, I mean, obviously that's going to vary on a case-by-case basis and depending on what type of incident it is. But here in Virginia, you know, all tow trucks and all towing occur only at the request of the first responders. So, you know, we don't dispatch anything out without getting verbal confirmation or mobile data terminal confirmation from the first responders. I'm not aware of anyone activating towing response from the scene. John, Athena, are you aware of anything going on in your regions?
So we'll the patrol dispatch is, for the most part, they're pretty good. They'll ask the caller, hey, do you need a tow? They'll do it that way, and just in the initial triage, the first call. Some of them, most of them are pretty good about looking at it on camera and saying, oh yeah, the whole front end's missing, you're going to need a tow, and they'll maybe start it going that way. The TMC dispatch itself, just with our policy with State Patrol, our dispatch does not call tows. If it's anything to do with a crash or anything like that, then that's done by patrol dispatch. Calls out the tow. If it's a voluntary tow, the person's stalled out on the side of the road, then the service patrol, they have a phone and they'll call that zone tow for that area on behalf of the stalled motorist. Everything else goes through patrol dispatch, and they're generally pretty good about calling them out pretty quickly. And then the service patrol, if they get there first, said, yeah, we're going to need 2 tows, and one of them's going to need to be a flatbed, and the record can get the other. They'll relay that, and then we relay that to State Patrol dispatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're very similar. I mean, we've got a highway emergency local patrol only during certain hours. So our TMC will call them out if we are aware of something. But when it comes to actually a tow operator, it's usually done at the scene at level.
Yep. So we're all pretty much the same there. I think for those of you that might not be aware about why, the PSAP typically has to activate the tow as opposed to the TMC, is because here in Virginia, for example, any towed vehicle has to be entered in the Criminal Information Network database, so that it's stored properly. And that way, in case there's any question a day or a week or a month down the road as to where that vehicle is located, it's in a statewide central database where towed vehicles are stored here in Virginia. So I think that's why it makes sense for the PSAP to be responsible for that task. Okay, the next question is regarding, let's see. This is, I think, for John. John, after the data integration and analytics part of your presentation, it said improve the overall performance and response for the challenges mentioned. Any use case example or experience for the data integration and analytics part of your presentation?
So I guess from an experiential level, we've had the CAD integration since 2008, and our system has grown from 100, 200, 300, 500, 800 cameras, 200 miles to 400 miles, and now doing statewide, and essentially still have the same number of people that it was 4 years ago in the TMC, or 20 years ago in the TMC. I mean, four Metro people working 20 years ago, 4 Metro people working a PM or an AM peak 20 years later, and that's how we've been able to keep up with all of that, is through the integration. And on a day-to-day level, I mean, a lot of it just day-to-day is one little minor crash, like, hey, that crash is actually eastbound, it's not westbound. Hey, it's back at Penn, it's not at France, and you shave 5 minutes off a response, and you do that all day long, minor, and then at the end of the year, hey, that's got to be good for something, and then you have a good structure so that so then when something kind of moderate happens, hey, you got a good plan that you can go, and then when the big things happen, now you also have a route to follow. So that we've been doing it for so long, it would be, I can't imagine going back. I mean, I can't imagine how bad it was, because I remember what it used to be like. But yeah, from experiential level, it's been huge.
Yep. Athena, anything to add to that?
No, I agree. Yep, same
Okay.
here.
Okay. Pat, you good? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. John, I think this might be related to you, and it said, can you share the Waze versus CAD comparison that you referenced as a report? Were there any major findings of that?
I would love to do a report, but we still haven't gotten to the point where we can automatically import Waze data. All of my stuff has been informally looking at, look at the Waze map, look at the CAD map, is one in the other, is the other in one, and then because we record all of our traffic cameras, and I can hear the screams of the screams right now when I mention that, but because we record the cameras, I can go back and say, okay, here's when it really happened, here's when it showed up in CAD, here's when it showed up in Waze, or maybe it showed up in one, didn't show up in the other. And it's informal, but I definitely, there's a pattern that I've seen, and it would be very interesting. I'd love to do a study on it, and I'm just waiting for us to be able to automate that Waze data and then be able to compare it with the CAD. I think that would be really interesting to do, but it's not something we're able to do yet. But there are some distinct patterns that are visible.
Yeah, agreed. Athena, any patterns on your end?
No, we haven't really looked at much of the Waze data to compare.
Yeah, but I agree with John. I mean, getting Waze data is near impossible. I mean, we do the case-by-case comparison, but just in a live setting. Obviously, there's no historical comparison there, because once it disappears off the Waze app, it's on our end. We just cannot get any historical data. Okay. Moving on to the next question, and this is either for NYTEC or for MnDOT. How are they determining when traffic is back to normal? Are you guys using sensor data, crowdsourcing data, or something else?
So for us, I mean, we've got, reoccurring congestion in areas what we're familiar with. So if you get an incident in that area, it's just a lot of it is our operators know what it is for normal during a certain time. But we also have sensor data out there giving us some speed data, so we can monitor the speeds that are out there as well to see if they're returning to normal. And, I've got a lot of veteran operators in my operations center who really, they're very familiar with what the normal traffic patterns are. So when there is an incident, and, they can really have an idea when it is returning to normal. But it is using normal data, some of the sensor data, and then just some of the knowledge of the region.
And for Minnesota, we don't, I guess, on an operational level or on the dispatch level, we don't track return to normal time. We track the lanes clear and the incident clear, but everything else is going to be, maybe you put up on a message board, you say incident just cleared, expect delays, and you put a 5-minute timer on it, just to let people know, hey, it's going to get better. or you clear the sign right away. But it's not really something that we're tracking on an incident by incident level.
But Minnesota's using sensors on the road, right, John? Like, for example, when traffic starts crawling, that gives you some alert that there's obviously something going on out there because traffic has suddenly gone from 55 to 25.
Yep, the whole metro is instrumented. Loop detectors in every lane, every half mile, and or in a lot of the new ones, it's using Wavetronics, and then that's what builds the base, the backbone for the ramp metering and the travel times and our congestion map.
Yep. And are those built on automatic alerts so that even if the TMC or the PSAP operators are tied up, they get some kind of either audio or visual alert that the sensor has gone off in a particular segment of the road?
No, that's on the wish list.
Yeah.
It would be. I think there's definitely some times it would be really helpful to be able to do it. I saw that on Saturday when I was working. Like, wow, that really. Here's this incident that's been there for a while. Nobody's called 911. Think so, but not generated 911 call, and it'd be neat to have a congestion alert. Of course, right now, for us, 4 o'clock in the rush hour. I mean, you'd have to be a pretty smart system to be able to know what's normal and what's not normal.
Right, exactly. But I mean, having some audio or visual alert that attracts the attention of an operator, whether it's at a TMC or at a PSAP, just to at least look at it and then, oh yeah, it's 5 p.m., it's normal rush hour, or it's 5 a.m. and that road should not be at a standstill. I think those types of alerts is something that we're working on here at our PSAP to try to get that audio and visual alert for our operators. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. The question is, what automatic incident management AID are you using? Have you tried any artificial intelligence system? Do you have any ATMS dashboards or that can view or retrieve the data? John, I can tell you that here in Prince William County, Virginia, we are not using any of that technology. So John or Athena, anything on your end?
We're not either.
No.
I think, like John said earlier, those are wish lists. I mean, just today I got a cold call from an AI vendor, obviously wanting to integrate. And I obviously am an agent of change, and I want to start exploring artificial intelligence, dashboards and networks and notifications. But right now we're just not there yet.
I agree. Same here.
Yeah, a little skeptical after watching some of them. Seeing some of them, a little skeptical about what are you doing? What are you going to tell me that a veteran operator can't already tell me, like what's congested and where the crash is going to be?
Yeah, exactly. John, I think this question is intended for you and says that you mentioned a challenge of working with local PSAPs. How is that happening today? Are those phone calls between the PSAPs? Any video sharing to agencies outside of Minnesota DOT?
Yeah, so we share our viewing software, the software that we use to record the cameras. We put that out to all of the PSAPs, and the 24/7 EOC fusion centers can all have one instance of it and look at 4 cameras at a time. And that was really kind of figured to be sort of the back end, that's going to be the sugar that will hopefully get the responders on their side to be interested in it. They seem to be using it. A lot of the PSAPs have it, and if something breaks, I hear about it right away that it's not working, so that's a good sign that works. And then really going to the just full streaming video to anybody all the time on your phone, on your app, on your computer was like the next step to make this super easy. No firewalls, no monkey business. You can just look at any camera you want, and I think that's going to be a big one. A lot of the calling back and forth goes to State Patrol, which is fine because they're 24/7. And there's also a regional talk group that all of the PSAPs are mandated to have on their councils for sharing information back and forth. But a lot of that stuff goes back and forth through State Patrol. The whether it gets a lot more into the politics and what that agency's priorities are. If that minor crash on the shoulder or that blocking stall in the lane is a priority to them, that's really the challenge. The thing that's a big deal to us on the freeway is not a big deal to some of the other PSAPs, just in their scheme of things.
Yeah, and I think probably the reason for that, John, is most local PSAPs tend to focus on local roads, and they leave the interstates and the highways to the state patrols, the state police. And so that's why, when someone calls us here at our PSAP about an incident going on one of our two major incidents, unless it requires fire and rescue, because that's who we dispatch. If it's just an incident involving, the law enforcement component, we transfer that call over to Virginia State Police, and then we kind of stop focusing on it, because at that point, if fire and rescue is not required, we really don't have, a spoon in the pot to stir. So that's kind of our take here. Athena, anything to add to that, ma'am?
No.
Okay. Pat, we've kind of left you alone for a while. Have any thoughts stirred up? Anything that you'd like to add along the way?
No, I noticed that there's a note in one of the comments about research that's being done on ways in PSAP data. I also wanted to go back to a comment that that was made. I guess it was John who was wrapping up some of the future, looking at the future kinds of things in terms of connected vehicles, and wanted to just note that a couple of other TSAG white papers that were put out over the last couple of years, one specifically looking at connected and automated vehicles and how they interface with emergency responders, and there's additional work going forward through NCHRP on that very issue as well. And,
Yeah.
and really, I think the connected vehicle issue is a significant one, particularly for PSAPs and TMCs, and understanding their role in it, not just the role of those in the field. And then the other thing that I think pertains to this, that is also another white paper that was done by TSAG, is the the Advanced Automated Crash or Collision Notification, AACN effort. And so that would feed immediate data. John was talking about not knowing a crash had occurred. If we have integrated AACN data coming into the PSAPs, then that goes right into the system, and there is instant notification with very specific GIS data. So there's a lot of ways we can start to really advance some of the technology around these issues. And all of that needs to be integrated, not just with the PSAP, but also feeding and coordinating with the TMCs as well, to really take full advantage of them.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Pat. So two things on that. So one of the things we really appreciate about getting AACN notifications here in our PSAP is that they're usually very useful. Contains very useful information, such as speed and number of airbags and number of seat belts, all these things that, for a dispatcher can dictate the type of response needed. If you've got, every single airbag in the car deployed, and, 4 seat belts that were activated, and the speed prior to the impact was 65, that's probably going to be a serious crash just based on that data. And in addition to that, I sit on an advisory panel with OnStar, just one of the many AACN notification systems that we get here in the center, that is constantly trying to enhance the type of data that we get into the center. And so there's several law enforcement officials, fire and rescue officials, and of course from the 911 center industry that are part of this advisory council to OnStar, that is just constantly helping them to enhance the type of information and data that they send in to PSAPs. And like you said, it's pretty instantaneous. It usually comes in before the first 911 call comes in. So it's very good and useful data. It's only getting better. And I just commend, it's not a commercial plug for OnStar, but I just commend them for involving the first responder community in an advisory capacity to enhance their tools. Okay, I think we've got just time for one more, and then we got to wrap up because we're down to 2 minutes. Is there any experience from anyone to share COVID pandemic, to share during the COVID pandemic that benefited from the critical data integration? John, Athena, Pat, anyone have anything to add to that question?
Well, I know for us, the just the overall, the volume of minor crashes decreased dramatically because there's so little congestion, but the number of high-speed big crashes went up. And the other side for us, of course, in Minnesota is, you know, George Floyd's murder and the aftermath of that, and that was a big deal. We went through a lot here. CAD was part of it. A lot of other challenges that came into place with that. But as far as I mean, directly COVID related, yeah, I guess not really so much. Just more of the day to day and changes in how day to day worked.
Yep.
Yeah, same here. I mean, we saw the same thing. Minor, you know, accidents and incidents were down, but the major ones were up. A lot of that attributed to speed and, you know, less volume out there. We did see a lot more commercial vehicle incidents, a lot of rollover tractor trailers, which you know, they were attributing speed as a factor to that too. So, but that's pretty much just some of our observations.
Yep. Thank you for that, Athena. Okay, well, thank you to all of our speakers and our panel members, John, Athena, Pat. Thank you so much for being a part of my panel. It was, as I said at the beginning, an awesome experience for me to moderate this. I also want to thank all those who attended, and a reminder that in order to receive your PDH credits, be sure to use the ITE Learning Hub evaluation link for this session, which is posted in the question pod for attendees. You can also find the link to the evaluation directly under the technical session page in today's schedule of events. The recording of this session is going to be available in the ET Learning Hub within 48 hours for the meeting registrants. So again, thank you to the panel members and thank you to those of you who listened in. I hope you found it useful and thank you. We're signing off. Thank you.